them to be here or for them to be there. In fact, it might even be slightly nicer for them to be in the conservancies, because the lions will be more likely to avoid that area. There's still lions there, and they'll be more likely to avoid that area. The grass is short, which is great for little Thompson's gazelle, which of course the cheetah like to eat. So all in all, there's lots to recommend the conservancies to the cheetahs. So they spend a lot of time there. The musketeers spend a lot of time there. They come backwards and forwards, and cheetah move an enormous distance. So when I say conservancies, it's not like they've been taken to a rehabilitation center or something like that. It's a very different thing. Look, Manu, there's our breakfast being prepared for us. Right, well, we're going to enjoy some breakfast. Tristan's hard at work tracking down, I assume, a leopard, and let's go find out how that's going.
Well, it is hard work, and our leopard tracking is not going according to plan. There was tracks from last night that are on top of our vehicle, and then they go off in towards Leadwood, and it looks like they're heading south, but I can't really find anything else. Just found lots of impalas and nyala inside there, and no sign of any leopard. So I'm just going to try and head up the Mulawati a little bit and see if maybe I missed something where it went northwards, but I don't think so. I think in all likelihood this leopard has crossed south. Maybe Hosanna came back for a drink last night. We know he was up and down all over the place and seemed to be in a strange sort of mood, did little Hosanna. I don't know what was wrong with him, but he seemed to be a little bit kind of disorientated and wanted to do different things, and was kind of moving around and checking around and seeing what was going on. It was quite strange. His behavior was different to normal, and I don't know if he saw something that he wanted to hunt, or if it was more a case that he just kind of a little nervous of being around Twin Dams with a lot of the other leopards around. But it was just strange, kind of the way that he was slinking, and he was pouncing on things that weren't even there. It was almost like he was just having a full-on game by himself. So it was kind of interesting to watch, that's for sure. Let's check the Mulawati carefully and see. Like I said, we might get lucky here and maybe we find something. But I wonder what else the Mulawati will hold for us this morning. Nobody's checked it, and nobody's driven up it as far as I know, so I'm just going to slowly amble up and check. Maybe we go back towards where I had those tracks also from last night of that male leopard around Chelapan area. Maybe Tumba's still around that side, so we're just going to coast our way up the Mulawati and just see what is actually going on here and whether or not there is anything inside. It seems quite quiet as well. There's no sounds when I was walking and just having a look at those tracks. There was very little in the way of birds calling or even any sort of animal sounds, and it's bush feels just quiet this morning. I don't know why. It's got some sort of quiet feel. It doesn't seem like it is for everybody else. Everyone else around us seems to be having roller kicking sightings and lots happening. There's that buffalo herd is still on Buffalo's Hook apparently. Guys are tracking lions all over the place on our fringes. So it seems like lots is happening, just not where we are currently. But that's okay. We know that can all change in the space of about 2 seconds. So I just want to see something quickly. So I thought for a second there was a drag mark here, but it's just where impalas have been or some sort of antelope was running across. And so while I meander the Mulawati, I believe Brent Leo Smith has found what he was looking for, and his spotted cats are on the hunt.
Live. So there we go. Sorry, Ferg, that was my fault. And you can see she is still absolutely ravenous. Now, she was being harassed by some hyenas a bit earlier, from what the guys told me. So she's run quite far from where she was this morning. But she is heading into a very good area that is full of gazelles and impala. Unfortunately, we are in the high usage zone, so there will be no off-roading. But we will stick with her for as long as possible. Oh dear, she's been spotted by an impala already. I can hear it snorting at her. But she is very, very hungry, so we are going to stick with her. We might have to live with looking at her at long distance, but looking at a cheetah is definitely a wonderful way to spend the morning. Okay, I'm going to just move around a bit. Now, remember, we are with a hunting female cheetah live in Kenya. Isn't that absolutely incredible that we are able to share these unbelievable African animals with you? So there we go. I'm just going to have a quick scan with my binoculars to see if anything's up ahead of her. You can probably hear that impala. Tamara is wondering, is this Kenya's daughter? I'm pretty sure it is one of her daughters, Tamara. Which one? I'm not sure whether it's one or two. I will get some ID shots of her a little later and send them off to the Mara Cheetah Project. But she is absolutely famished. So she's probably eaten something small in between when we last saw her, and she probably doesn't want to hunt right now, just because the hyenas were not too far behind. We saw them as we came a bit closer. They're probably about 300 meters away from us, the closest hyena. So if she did manage to catch something, it would almost certainly be stolen in a matter of seconds. There's a little island of croton thickets coming up ahead, and I'm pretty sure once she reaches there, she should be out of sight of the hyenas and in a good area to possibly get a hunt. And I'm pretty confident there's going to be some Thompson's gazelles or impala or Grant's gazelles or something more to her ilk beyond that little thicket. There's a lot of smaller antelope in this area. She keeps looking back to where the hyenas were. Fortunately for her, I don't see any hyenas following her presently. I think she might have managed to give them the slip. Sorry, my head pops in. Sorry, Ferg, I'm just trying to make sure there's no hyenas behind. Now, Stanley's wondering, how do we know that she's very hungry? Well, Stanley, it's just that her belly is so empty, so concave. So with cats, it's quite easy to see when they're hungry or full. When they're full, they're literally little Buddhas. They've got very round tummies. And when they are hungry, you get that very sleek, hollow look at the stomach. Now, because of their digestive system working very fast, they're able to process meat quite quickly, and that's why they're able to actually gorge themselves into being fat cats, and then within a day or two, they'll become very skinny again. Well, hopefully for them, they try not to get skinny. They try to keep up or catch, so to keep that belly full. But being a cheetah, life can be actually very, very difficult. And you've got pressure from hyenas, a leopard will steal the kill, lions, and of course in the Mara, there's such a large number of other predators that it can be sometimes very tough for a cheetah. So as I said, she's moving towards that little island of trees. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try shoot around towards the other side, and you never know if there's something just on the other side that'll be in the perfect spot for her to have a hunt. But isn't this wonderful? I think for me, one of the biggest highlights of the Mara is spending so much time with cheetah. It is a true privilege. So I said we are in the high usage zone, so we cannot off-road here, so we're going to have to stick to the roads. You can see what I mean. I said there's likely to be small prey around. We've got a male Thompson's gazelle here, and he looks like he might have heard the impala alarming and is checking ahead already towards where the impala alarming. So it pays to be vigilant if you're that size out in the Mara. So it hasn't seen the cheetah, but it can hear the impala alarming. So it's keeping a close look on that area. Okay, I'm just going to move forward again. I don't want to lose her as she comes through the trees. Robert is wondering, how many days can a cheetah go without food? Well, she probably hasn't gone without food completely. She might have eaten something small like a scrub hare, or even rodents when they're really, really hungry. Ground nesting bird babies, birds' eggs. These animals will do anything to survive, but they can probably go 7 to 10 days without eating at all. But it very seldom happens like that. Most of the time, they will eat little things in between just to keep themselves going. Okay, we've got some potential up here. I'm just gonna see if I can't spot her at the moment, but we do have some impala up ahead. Patty's wondering, will a starving cheetah eat carrion? Patty, I think they would. It's very unlikely, but I think if any animal is hungry enough, that instinct for survival, I mean, human beings will eat carrion if it meant living or dying. Okay, I need to just pop my binos up for a second. Let's see if we can spot her. No, I don't have her at the moment, but the grass is quite long, and there are some impala and Thompson's gazelle up ahead. So I'm just going to sit up quickly and see if a bit of height helps. Now, of course, she might be quite tired from running from the hyenas and stop for a rest. Now, the impala and Thompson's gazelle are looking in the direction she was, and that's probably more because they've heard the other impala on the other side of the thicket alarm calling rather than they've seen her. Otherwise we would see snorting from them as well. Where are you, pretty girl? Now, a lot of people assume cheetah like sort of perfect, flat, short, open plains. Oh, warthog running towards her, but that'll be a bit big for her. You see the pig? Oh, he's disappeared behind a rock. That would be a bit big for her. Cheetah actually will often hunt in broken, rocky country. It is as difficult as it is for them. It's probably more difficult for the antelope they're chasing. I got her, I think. I got her. Okay, so Ferg, the second little rocky outcrop. Okay, so if you when I come out, let me just see where you are. To the left a bit. So you see there's in between those the two patches of big green bush. She's walking there. So she's stopped now. So you see the two, there she goes. She's going to disappear. Okay. Now, this makes life a little bit interesting for us. Where to go? So this is quite a wide area between the roads, but I think our best bet is going to be to move around and down towards the river again. And she's gone into that thicket there. She is. Well spotted, Ferg. So I just want to see where she goes from there. She's definitely been spotted by the impala now. But there are a lot of small antelope in this area. And I'm just trying to think which is the fastest road down. It's going to be back the way we came. Okay, hold on. So, oh, excuse me. So with those impala having spotted her, she was heading in this direction. She's changed her line to try avoid all the snorting and whatnot. Buttons is wondering, is it easier for her to reach her top speed when her stomach is empty? Oof, that's an interesting question, because of course you need fuel to power that incredible engine that a cheetah has. So I'd say probably with a little bit of meat in the belly, not too full, not too empty. But I would say yes, so definitely easier for her to reach top speed with an empty belly than a full belly. It just depends on how long she's had that empty belly for. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're heading back down towards the main river road, because she was sort of heading off in that angle, and we're going to try and catch up with her as she heads towards the area around Main Crossing. I just need to let Alfred know. Alfred's making sure people behave when they're around the cheetah. So just give me 2 seconds. So she's going down. Yeah, so I'm going around to see if we can see her again. Karibu for the, you know where you go through the Msito Kidogo, the road. She's coming down that way. She's mbali sana. Sante Alfie. Okay, let's carry on. So Romit, I forgot that question. It slipped straight out of my mind. Chantal, can I have the question again, please? There we go. Robert would like to know, how often will a cheetah climb a tree to scope for a kill? Generally, actually, when cheetahs climb trees and rocks, to a small degree, it's to scope for a kill, but often it is to scent mark. And cheetah like defecating. It's one of their forms of scent marking on trees or high or prominent places. So generally, when they're up in a tree, they might get spotted quite easily by their potential prey. So they will sometimes, but very seldom. It's more for territorial and scent marking purposes that they'll climb trees. Okay, so we're going to rush around to try and get there before she disappears. While we do that, let's go back to Tristan and see how his tracking has been.
The tracks for Tamba is everywhere around Chelapan. He's up and down all over the show. So somewhere in this general vicinity is our little boy. Just seems to be hiding out and keeping a low profile at the moment. So we found tracks in the Mulawati, out of the Mulawati, back into it, all over this area. He's literally walked up and down. And some of the tracks are a little bit older, some are a bit fresher. So he's definitely somewhere here. It's just a matter of finding him. I just don't know now if the tracks that we had now are not the greatest. They're from early last night. There's one or two Jennets and Civets that have walked on top. So I'm trying to find a fresher set just to see where he's gone. But maybe he's decided just to creep in somewhere here and lie down. I just want to quickly go around the back of Chelapan and see there quickly. If there's nothing, then I'm going to drop down to the Mulawati and take Vulture's Nest northwards and go towards the hyena den and we'll come and try this afternoon when we can dedicate some time and hopefully find some slightly fresher tracks that we can work with, because these ones, like I say, while they are fresh-ish, they're not right now, or this morning's tracks. I'm trying to find this morning's tracks to work with, not early last night's tracks, because these are the tracks that I saw just as we finished drive last night, and they were going up and down, and then from there he kind of looks as though he went out towards Twin Dams and then turned and came back again. So just thought it would be worth checking behind Chelapan in case he's lying down somewhere here. Sometimes we get lucky, but alas, no sign of our little boy this side. Now, I don't think I can actually possibly believe it, but it sounds like there's now another herd of buffalo on its way down to a dam. So there's 2 big herds of buffalo in Buffelshoek now, which is pretty crazy. So hopefully one of them will at least make their way towards us here on Djuma. It would be really good to see a herd of buffalo again. I can't even remember the last time I saw a herd of buffalo that's even remotely... You see, there's more tracks for this leopard here. All over the place. This little Tumba has been walking around everywhere. So what makes it difficult is because he's spending time in this area and he's going back and forth, it makes tracking quite hard. Buttons, you're asking who is older, Tumba or Hosana? Hosana is older by 6 months, even though they are of very similar size. Hosana is maybe just slightly bigger, but not very much. But Tumba is much younger. Tumba is 6 months younger, which is quite a lot when it comes to young male leopards. I mean, their size changes drastically in 6 months, so it's interesting to see that Tumba is of sort of equal size, or just a little bit smaller than what Hosana is, given he's younger. But the thing is what interests me now is I wonder if Tumba's rate of growth is going to start slowing up quite a bit. And the reason why I say that is because we're seeing him spending a lot more time on his own. In fact, I can't even remember the last time we had a sighting of Thandi and Tumba together. And the thing is about that, it means that he's not getting the same nutrition as he was previously, because remember when he was with Thandi, he was getting a lot of nutrients from her. Now he's not getting the same sort of amount of food, and that's going to mean that his rate of growth, I think, is going to slow down just a tad. And it'll be interesting to see whether he becomes sort of, or if Hosana starts pulling away from him again. You know, Hosana is, if he's going to start figuring out how to sort that. Now, I do, if you lost my sound for a little bit, maybe with me taking off my jersey, I bumped the mic, so hopefully you can hear me fine now. But basically, I'm just saying that with Hosana being able to kill the way he is, and being left by Thandi, I wonder maybe check it again. So Senzo's telling me, how's that, Senzo? Better? So we're trying to see if we can fix our audio. So if it's not the earpiece, it's the audio. I don't really know what else to do. It's starting to get a little on the frustrating side, the tech things at the moment. Here we go, better, Senzo? Or not? We still good? No? Maybe? I'm not sure. We're good. Okay, Senzo's given me the all clear, which is good news. So it will be, like I say, interesting to see who actually develops quicker now. If Hosana, because he's getting more food and more nutrients, is going to start growing a little bit more than what Tumba's rate of growth is, it will just be dependent. Also, there's a genetic part to it. You know, some male leopards are bigger than others. Lamula, for example, was quite a small leopard, so a lot of people didn't know that Lamula was actually quite little in comparison to a lot of the other individuals that we saw, and he never seemed to really get that big. He kind of filled out a little bit, and he got a bit of a dewlap, but he was the largest male. Vula and Anderson, Tingana were all much bigger than he was. He was just a lot more f***y than all the others. He used to be quite grumpy and used to really sort of use aggression on his side as opposed to size. So you do get differences between them, but Tumba and Hosana, I think they'll both end up fairly similar when they get to fully grown, don't think you're going to have a situation where one's going to be drastically bigger than the other. I think they're both going to come from, they come from similar lineage, similar DNA, and they, I'm sure, will be of a similar size later in life. But no further signs of any little leopard walking up this way, so he might still be around Chella Pan area. I just will have to try a little harder to find him this afternoon. Like I say, I want to try to hope that this afternoon he's going to come out and just put some tracks somewhere that are fresher. And while I kind of contemplate my next move, let's go back to Brent and his beautiful spotted cat that he has.
Linking 5. Well, we've caught up with this absolutely gorgeous girl, and she hasn't noticed yet, but there is a sleeping Thompson's gazelle. But on this short grass like this, it could prove to be a little bit difficult for her. So I think the Thompson might spot her first. So there are other vehicles here, and we do apologize. They might just drive in front of us for a second. And there we go. And so, yeah, the Tommy spotted her. You see, popped up, but she is going into a really good area. The only problem with this area is it is really, really full of lions. This is core paradise pride territory, and so we're going to see where she goes. I'm going to get ahead of her again. Whee! Down the big bump. So I think she might cut the corner and head down towards where the main crossing is. So, as I say, sometimes the short grass has its benefits and its disadvantages. So, preferably cheetah prefer a little bit of mixed country, open grass. I'm just going to wait for her to cross the road. Is she going to cross the road? Now, as I say, you will hear other vehicles. There are a few of us enjoying this gorgeous girl. So once she crosses the road, I'm going to shoot ahead of her around the next corner. Romit is saying they really do walk majestically. Indeed, they do. So, as I say, I'll just wait for her to cross the road. Now, I'll use my binoculars now. Always want to keep a lookout on what's coming up ahead. I'm just having a quick check. Okay, she's crossed the road now, so I'm going to scoot ahead of her. Now she's heading directly towards main crossing at the moment. Hold on, everyone. Oh, there's potential prey up ahead, so I'm just going to get ourselves in the good position. And there's a big herd of impala just ahead of her that haven't seen her yet. Now, she does have a bit of a chance. She's running, she's jogging, so Chantal, you might want to prep Facebook. Okay, let's go. Welcome to the Masai Mara, and we are with a female cheetah who is stalking up to a herd of impala. They have not seen her yet. Let me just get into a spot where we can see everything. How's that for you, Ferg? So she's just coming up here. The impala all right in front of us. This is a really good area. There's some broken rocky ground that could really help her hunt here. So we've moved up ahead as to not to disturb. The impala are unaware that she's there, and you can just see her peering. Look at that. Look at that focus. Now, she's probably going to sit for a little bit, watch and wait, and she's probably hoping that a single impala might drift towards the edge of the herd and make it a little bit easier for her to catch. She is absolutely gorgeous. Remember, this is coming to you 100% live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. We are with a female cheetah who's only about 80 meters from a herd of impala. This is very, very exciting. If you would like to ask any questions, just pop on the feed below. Let me know how this makes you feel. Do you have any questions about cheetah? Especially now, while she's still planning her avenue of attack towards the impala. She is also very, very hungry. So she is almost certainly going to keep hunting this morning till she gets some success. Look at that. See how she's lowering herself. She's trying to make sure that the impala don't see her. Now, being a cheetah out here in the Mara is very, very difficult. There are lots of hyenas, lots of lions, and she's already been harassed by hyenas once this morning. So I think before she wants to really commit to the stalk, she's going to make sure that there aren't any other potential predators around that might thieve her hard-earned kill if she manages to catch one. Now remember, only about 15 to 20% of a cheetah's hunts are successful, so she's got to really consider what she's doing now, because she's very hungry. We've been following her for a couple of days now, and so far we haven't managed to see her get a decent meal. Hi, Joanne. Joanne says this is amazing to see. Indeed it is, Joanne. So while she's very nervous after being chased by hyenas earlier, she keeps checking behind her. Now, while we have this opportunity, while she's lying in the grass, let's have a look and we'll show you where her potential prey is. Now, it's to make life even more difficult for her there is the policeman of the Masai Mara there. There we go. That's the topi. So quite a lot taller than the other antelope. Too big for her to catch, but with absolutely incredible eyesight. So it might spot her before she gets a chance to get close enough to her real targets. Oh, there's a giraffe there as well, I just noticed, which are the impala. Now, Ali is wondering, do cheetahs hunt on their own? Indeed, they do. In certain circumstances, they won't. There will maybe be a coalition of males. Male cheetah will form groups. Female cheetah will almost always be by themselves, unless they are very young and sisters from the same litter. Then they will leave their mom together, and for about 7 to 8 months they will hunt together, but as soon as they become sexually mature they will separate. So she would even prefer more. See, there's some baby impala there. That is ideal for her. Younger antelope are much, much easier to catch, and less of a risk to lose, because she might be able to eat them all before the other predators run in. Now, there's another one of the cheetah's favorite foods a little bit off to the right as well, but a little bit too far, because the herd of impala is in between them, and that is the Thompson's gazelle, also sort of ideal sized prey for a female cheetah. She's got up a little bit. She's scoping out her potential targets. Now, Kayleen is wondering, I've been talking about the threats and pressures that cheetah face from other predators, and Kayleen is wondering, what would she do if a lion arrived on the scene? Kayleen, she would disappear as fast as possible. Lions are probably the biggest killer of cheetahs. Now, even though a cheetah is incredibly fast and can run away from a lion, it's only if they see the lion coming. So lions can sometimes ambush cheetah, and that's a very bad day for the cheetah, because a lion's jaws are so powerful, a single bite will absolutely destroy a poor cheetah. Now, they are the smallest of the big cats in Africa. And you see, she's very nervous after being chased by hyenas. She wants to make sure that there's no potential threats around. See how she's scanning it. So Ryan's wondering, could the wind give away her position? It could, but it is unlikely. Most animals out here rely, especially during the day, on their eyesight over their smell. So she might get smelt, but at the moment the wind is actually blowing from the impala to her. So the biggest threat for her is actually being spotted by the
Well, unfortunately, there's some technical glitches again, so you're back on the Djuma side of the world, and we're slowly but surely making our way now towards the hyena den. So I'm heading up along the fire breaker, just checking along the sides to see if there's any tracks. The guys apparently had tracks from Mvula coming eastwards along the Buffalo cut line, well, just north of the Buffalo cut line. So I'm just checking the fire break to see if he didn't turn south. We had his tracks, like I say, early this morning, and so I think he's somewhere just on this northern side. I don't know if he's on our side, but we're not too far from that area where they last had tracks, so worth just checking while we're up this way. It was kind of on the way to the hyena den anyway, so hopefully hyena den will be active. I don't think anyone's gone there this morning. It was active for a brief period yesterday afternoon, so I'm hoping that this morning it will be as well. Seems as though we're in for a grey overcast day, as to kind of carry on the theme from yesterday, and that should be then good for the cubs this morning. They should be out and about. The sun's not going to drive them to try and get into the termite mountains. Also, it's not cold and windy, so they should be out. As long as Gwen is there, then we will have them moving around. And it was amazing yesterday just to watch how much more brazen and bold they've become since the last time I saw them. The last time I saw them, they wouldn't even leave the termite mound. They didn't want to come near us. Now they're starting to walk towards us. They're sniffing, they're pasting, they're all over the show. So it was really cool to see the sort of little characters within them starting to develop, and to see how they're getting more confident in their environment and where they are. Also, I really like this new den. It's in such a nice area, and for viewing of them, it is really very, very cool. So we get a nice open field of view. The Gallagher shortcut den is beautiful, but it was a difficult place because there was quite a lot of fallen over trees around, and that made it tough for us to actually get anywhere near where they were and to actually try and sort of find them. So nice that they've moved to this one. Oh, where am I going? I'm going the wrong way. I'm going to Gallagher shortcut den. Why am I going to Gallagher shortcut den? This is what happens, is you get so ingrained and so used to something that you kind of mentally, you just turn in a certain direction, or you kind of go that way thinking that's where you need to be, but meanwhile you're actually going the wrong way. So luckily we corrected ourselves fairly quickly there, and we've just got to go towards Gallagher shortcuts and then past Gallagher shortcuts onto Aubrey's itself. But I'm amazed at the fire break where there's been a bit of fire. We haven't seen any green shoots yet after this bit of moisture. Journeyman, you want to know if we as guides get frustrated with other guides when we're out and about on the reserve? Well, yes and no. So sometimes you get frustrated, but you must remember that a lot of, well, here in the Sabi Sands it's very different to where Brent and Jamie and the rest of them are in the Mara, where they've got people that they don't know. Here we know each other. We're all kind of friendly with one another, and a lot of us are actually friends. And so your frustrations with your friends is never really much. You might get frustrated a little bit at something that they do, and there might be a little bit of a kind of issue, and it's normally involving when there's like a crazy sighting and everybody wants to get into it. then you sometimes have a little argument, but that's typical amongst friends anyway, so you can't always agree on everything. But it's out here, not that bad. There's no real massive malice in anything that's done, and nobody really gets that grumpy with one another, so it's not too bad at all. I feel like in other parks that guides do, so places like the Kruger Park where you've got lots and lots of people, and sometimes you can have 30-40 cars at a sighting, and people are all trying to box and get into their places to get some sort of a view of the animal. Then you find that the guides do start getting quite angry with one another and frustrated with one another, and then people get frustrated with the guides because the guides some of them tend to be a little bit more pushy in what they're doing because they have paying clients as opposed to just people that are on their own little holiday. And so there often is quite a few altercations that take place within that system, but here in the Sabi Sands, very little. The frustrations with other guides is not that big. You might have, like I say, a little sort of disagreement here and there, but it's never too much. And luckily where we are specifically, we've got the best guys around us in terms of Tax and Aubrey, so that's who we work with the most because they're from Djuma, and Tax, Aubrey and Rex are such stand-up guys and are always doing their best to help us and to make space for us and to accommodate the fact that we are slightly different in that we have a camera and that we spend longer periods in sightings and all these kind of things. And we're very, very, very fortunate to work with those guys because they do look after us a lot. They're always trying to give us the best possible updates that they can and try and help us out. And so in some ways we're very fortunate that we're here, and I think it would be a bit different if we were in some other parts of the world, but here we're very lucky that we have those three guys that, like I say, are very aware of what we do and are super helpful and super conscious of what we're doing. And that's the best part about it, is that because they're conscious about it, they then ultimately help us do the right things and get us into the right positions and all of those kind of things, and also are mindful of noise around us because of the cameras and parking too close and all of those kind of things. So it's good to have those kind of guys around. Right, hyenas, are you here or are you not here? So far it looks all a bit quiet and sedate, but that might not be the case for long. Let's get round the corner where the little hole is. No sign of any of our hyenas. So there's a empty hole that I can see, no adult females around, and well, if there's no adult females, that means that we're not going to see the little ones. They will stay inside. They're not brazen enough just yet to come out, so they're probably inside the mound as we speak. And so what we'll do now is, because this is not active, is we're going to head off to the other den site at Gallagher Shortcut and go and see if little Intima is around, because I heard Intima was seen there yesterday, so she's not moved across this way. So now that these guys are here and Gwen is not here, we'll go back towards Gallagher Shortcut side. Pity, I was hoping to catch up with the little ones. Now, I believe the Mara, with the varying rainstorms and other things that they've had, unfortunately means that their internet has gone down, so you're stuck with me for the last half an hour by the signs of things, and hopefully that will be okay. It's been a quiet morning on Djuma though, that's for sure. We've had very little to work with. There's been the odd track here and there, but it's nothing too fresh, and they've all been close to boundaries, and it just hasn't been quite ideal. But we can't complain because we've had such a wonderful 12 days, and it's really going to be, it's one of those things, is you have situations where you're going to have quiet days. Bush cannot be busy forever, and you can't have a situation where you're going to see crazy stuff every single day, as much as we want to and as much as we would like to have those kind of things. Just given the area that we're working in and the size of the area, there's going to be days where it is a little bit quiet, and sometimes quiet days are good. It makes you appreciate the things that are happening, and it makes you appreciate how lucky we have been and how lucky we will be in the future at some point when we get these amazing sightings. Now, of course, I've been 12 days with cats every single day, and so today's looking like a bit of a challenge, because we know that there's not really much around. There's only those tracks in the Mulawati of that young male leopard, whoever that may be. I suppose it's Tumba, just given that we watched Hosana Cross South yesterday. So it's just really his tracks that are there to work with. So we're going to have a tough time this afternoon. We don't want to break our streak. We're going to try and keep our streak running for as long as possible. So we're not going to get caught on unlucky number 13. We're going to try and avoid that as much as possible. So I'm sure this afternoon will bring things. If the sun comes out, it's going to be good for us, because that's going to drive animals for water, and it's maybe going to push some of our cats towards more open clearings in the watery areas like Treehouse, Twin Dams, those kind of things. Yes, Lou. Very easy, no worries. So Lou says to me, no, I can always just find a caracal instead of a leopard. Which, of course, caracals are bound everywhere here. They're like the proverbial predators impala. They're just all over the place and easy to spot, easy to see. Been seeing many this morning. I just didn't really feel like talking about them. They are the same color as impala, you're right, Lou. But a caracal, I would be very, 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 very happy to see one of those. And also wildcat, serval. I'm not going to sneeze at either of those. So it's okay. Maybe one of the cats, some cats, is going to come out at some point, and we're going to get lucky and we're going to find cats somewhere. It's just nice to focus on the other things now. So it gives us a chance to look at some birds, and also it's going to be interesting. Now, I didn't hear you, Lou, go again, sorry. It just broke up a little bit. Something about it's got cats in its name. Okay, so Lou says, does a striped polecat count? Because it's not a cat, but it's got cats in its name. Nope, sorry, Lou. It's got to be of the feline or Panthera lineage. That's unfortunately where it's got to be at. So we will find one of them, I can assure you, at some point today. Like I say, I'm not going to let the number 13 defeat us, because we know the 13 is a number that is deemed to be unlucky, and well, 13 is the day that we're on. We're on 13 days of, well, today would be 13 days of cats, and so we're not going to let 13 defeat us. We will find one somewhere, and we'll just have to spend some serious effort this afternoon to do so. Maybe we'll bump into a cat now, who knows? There's always time for a last minute leopard. We know that we have a number of individuals that seem to be taking to this last minute leopard story. So we've got Tingana, who's the absolute king of it, and seems to be the champion at coming out at those most random times and right at the end of drives. And lately Hosana has also been starting to do his little last minute thing, and Shongile, well, we would want her to be a last minute leopard any day of the week as well. So we're going to hope for one of them. I'm going to head along Gallagher Shortcuts. Good place to try and find Shongile. It's an area where she has spent a lot of time over the past, and so it will be a great place to check. Now, for some reason yesterday I got bitten by something, and it's causing a massive reaction on my arm, and it really is driving me fairly crazy. And I've got, it almost looks, it's in the worst area as well, because it looks as though I've been doing drugs or something. But here on my arm I have this lovely nice red welt that is developing, and it's just getting larger and larger and driving me absolutely crazy this morning. So hopefully I'm going to try and sort this out, but I had no idea what got hold of me. It got me there, and then now it's spreading and it's causing a welt to start developing on my arm, which is being uncomfortable to say the least. I don't know if it maybe was some sort of insect. Maybe I got a bee or something like that that's hit me, and that's why I'm going. But it really is uncomfortable, and it's starting to itch again now. It was fine when I woke up, but after wearing a jersey it started to get a little bit itchy again now. Buttons, you're asking how much animal psychology we need to understand, or do we just stick to animal behavior? I think obviously behavior is the number one thing for us. Psychology is very subjective, and there's no fact in it at all, and there's no way to know for sure that's what's happening. Also remember that animals can't tell you what their psychology is all about and what they're thinking, but understanding an animal's behavior and understanding its patterns is probably a better thing. So certain animals like to do certain things at certain times and walk in certain areas, and that's why we try and search different sections. We know that there's a possibility of, let's say, Mvula on our western boundary and our northern boundary. He likes to walk in that northwest corner, so we head in that direction. We also know that there's certain pathways that he likes to take, and so maybe that's part of his his psychology, I suppose, and you also know that he's an individual that will hunt warthogs and porcupines, and so he's going to be an animal that's going to head termite mound to termite mound to termite mound. Somebody like, let's say, Hosanna, a little bit different, younger, doesn't have the experience yet, and his modus is just kind of move around towards areas that he knows. So water points, we see Hosanna always around water, so it's either Chitwa Dam, Treehouse Dam on Little Gari, Treehouse Dam here, or Twin Dams. He seems to kind of hover around the dam areas, and his sort of mode is to hang there and hope for animals to come to him. So I suppose that's part of their psychology to a degree. Also, certain animals are more aggressive than others, and that will help you to determine what you're going to do and where you're going to park towards them and how you're going to follow them. So I suppose a little bit of their psychology comes into it, but I mean, we don't really understand a lot of what they do. We don't understand the reasons why, let's say, Hosanna yesterday ran across the Mulawati and then came back and then went south and then went north, and you know, those kind of things we don't fully understand. There's probably reasons for it, and there's driving elements from, you know, prey items or scent of another animal or wind or rain or whatever the case may be that will influence what they do. But animals are pretty much instinct, you know, they rely on their instincts, and so reading into their psychology is probably not going to get you that far. It's more a case of watching their behavior and learning from their behavior and their past that it helps us to be able to find them and work out what they're doing. Certainly in a wild system, obviously in a system where you've got wild animals that are in captivity or in rehabilitation centers, then you'll get a little bit more into the psychological side of things, because I know when we had those orphaned elephants in Kenya, a lot of them had quite damaged psyches. They were traumatized from the loss of their mothers, whether it had been, you know, the mothers had been shot or they had fallen into a storm drain and couldn't get out and the herd had abandoned them, or whatever the case may be. Most of those animals had some sort of damage to their psyche, and you had to kind of understand what they were like to be able to then help them and to try and kind of utilize the best resources in order to get them back up and running and get them joining into the herds and getting them moving around. There were some that were very shy, some were a little bit more extrovert, some enjoyed, you know, walking a lot, some enjoyed playing with the soccer ball, some were, you know, just wanted to keep to themselves, and it was only when other elephants were nearby that it would come out of its shell a little bit. So all of these kind of things were, you know, utilized to get them going. Here in the wild though, I haven't seen you in very long time, but this is an incredibly interesting impala on our right hand side here. It's a female impala. No, don't go away now. It's a female impala that's got a horn that grows between its eyes, so it's almost our equivalent of a unicorn. So the horn there, you can just see the horn coming out between the eyes and the nose. So this impala I've seen a few times and always struggle to get it on camera, but I'll try and go back because it's heading towards an open area, and this is quite common in female impalas. You do see it from time to time where they will get horns. This particular one is a complete deformity though. It's the horns generally shouldn't be coming out of the face area. It should be obviously on top between the ears, but this is growing basically between the nose and the eyes, which is really quite odd. So hopefully she'll stay there and just look at us for a little bit longer. But there you can see the horn structure, and you can see it's a very kind of odd shaped horn. It's not like what the males will get, and that's just from a bit of a recessive gene that she's got. So we have our very own unicorn at Djuma, and that is her. And she hangs around quite a bit on the lodge, and Lou is completely flabbergasted because Lou hasn't seen her before, but she's been hanging around the last few weeks, and I've seen her quite regularly actually, but I've never managed to get her on camera, so super cool to see. I'm going to go back a little further because she should be going into a clearing where we'll be able to see her, although she's stopping right here, so maybe let's just stop here for a little bit and see if we can get a view of that face one more time. No, girl, stop going behind. Every time she goes behind a bush when we try and stop. Now she's stopped right behind the bush. But it is a crazy thing to see. It's something that a lot of people never really expect, and a lot of people wouldn't have ever thought possible. But basically all it is it's a bony deposit that has started to form between her eyes and her face, and it's now growing out in the keratin sheath, and it's just like any other horn. It's just in an odd place that it's started. So really weird, and the fact that it's a female, and female impalas don't have horns, it's just an odd thing to see. So she's a very special girl, and hopefully she'll survive for many years to come.
our nose is in our field of vision. We've just become so accustomed to it that we almost look past it, and our brain accepts the fact that that is part of what we are seeing. And there you can just see it just coming out. Hopefully she kind of puts her head in a gap every now and then, and we can just see the horn. There we go. So you guys can see it perfectly now. There it. Are you going to come out for us? Excellent. So she's listening to the woodpecker. Stream Alexander, who's a new viewer and joined us for the first time this morning. Well, welcome to Safari Live, and I hope that you are loving the experience so far and really enjoying your little bit of Africa that we are trying to bring to you. And you want to know what makes her a female, and why do I know she's a female? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, the male impalas that we get in this area, they have very big developed horns. They are also slightly larger than the females, and their horns grow between their eyes and will come up and grow in this really nice fashion. If this was a male impala, we would have found, even if it had a deformity on the face and one horn growing there, it would have had at least another horn between the ears and would have been able to kind of just tell that. Also, when it was walking away from me, there was no sign of any testes, so I was looking underneath the tail, and a male impala's testes are quite easy to see. You can see them between the legs basically, and you'll also see the rest of his genitalia, which we can't see on her. So she is definitely a female, and also from experience, so I know that females do sometimes get horns. I've seen it fairly regularly. So from here I'll try and show you if we can see her stomach area, and you'll be able to see that there's no genitalia on her stomach. It's difficult. She's gone behind a few trees there, so difficult to see it, but you can see as she's walking there's no male genitalia on that white tummy section just between the back legs there. But now she's hiding. She's a bit shy and kind of watching us from behind the bush. Maybe she's has a bit of a complex about her face. Don't worry, girl, you are unique and very, very special. So I'm hoping that she'll stick around for many years to come, and we'll get this impala and she'll become a bit of a celebrity, old unicorn. I wonder what we should call her. Is there a famous unicorn? I don't know if there is a famous unicorn. There must be a famous unicorn. Surely there's a folk tale of a famous unicorn. Is there? I don't know. Girls, you'll know. There is, Senzo. What's its name? Do you remember? Do your kids like it? Maybe. Is that why? So Senzo's got kids, and maybe his kids are watching unicorns. So Lou, do you know of any famous unicorns that have names, or any of these kids shows maybe when you were a little girl? Charlie the unicorn. No, well, Charlie can't really work because it's a girl, and I suppose Charlie is a girl's name as well. You can call, but it's not a really nice girl's name. Maybe there's another one. Sure, we can find a famous unicorn name for our one-horned impala. Of course, naming these things is really sort of quite ridiculous, but it's part and parcel of what we do out here. We just have a bit of fun with it, and it's not because we're doing it out of disrespect or anything like that, but it becomes a character. It's an individual that is easily recognizable amongst the masses that are impalas. We see thousands of impalas here every week, and so if you can recognize one, giving it a little identity is just something that we can all refer to, and it becomes almost like a following. It's the same thing as really the lions or the leopards. Right, Intima, are you home? Hyenas are not giving us much luck today, so hopefully Intima will be home today. So far I can't see her, but she's been liking to hang around at the back of the den these days. She's not so much on this side anymore. No sign of her here. Let's go round to the other side. It's a very bumpy track though to the other side, so please excuse me as we bounce around and kind of get pushed from pillar to post by all the fallen over stumps that are lying in this particular section. No, I don't think she's home. I think she's either inside or is off pottering about, because I've started to see her tracks moving up and down Gallagher shortcut. So I've seen Intima's little footprints leaving this den, so she's at that age where she's going to start doing to start exploring her world and to try and start becoming like an adult hyena. Now, unfortunately, she's not on this back end either. This is the hole that she tends to lie at. But while I sit and contemplate my next move, it seems Jamie has gotten back up and running and has had some breakfast.
This Thompson's gazelle is doing pretty much what I think Manu and I are planning on doing, which is, well, not ruminating. We don't plan on ruminating our breakfast, but we're certainly going to go and settle for the rest of the day until this afternoon. What do you think, Manu? Yeah. It was amazing that our breakfast just happened to coincide with an attack of the gremlins, so we didn't even miss anything. It was very, very kind of them to have invited us. We scored sandwiches and coffee with a little dash of amarula and juices, lots of juices. So now I'm sitting on the bank of the Tulloch River, enjoying the view and enjoying the fact that we are, relatively speaking, closer to where we're going to be staying. We've got to drive through the thriving metropolis of Tulloch first on our way home. It's one horse town, where the horse is actually 2 chickens and a goat dressed up as a horse. Got some giraffes resting over there as well. We often get asked a question on whether or not a giraffe ever lie down. And the answer is, generally speaking, they do. They'll lie down in the way that this giraffe is lying down. I can't actually, yes you can see, sorry, there's so much glare off my monitor. They lie down in that way with their heads up. You do occasionally see them with their heads resting down, but it's very, very unusual. So that's the most comfortable position for them. And they are particularly vulnerable because, as you can imagine, unfolding legs like that takes a little bit of time. And I don't know if any of you have ever ridden a camel. I imagine that 1 or 2 of you out there have. The process of getting up and down is very similar for giraffe as well, which of course means that they're vulnerable, so dozing in that way, or resting with one's head up, makes the most sense. That way at least they can see whether or not there's any predators sneaking up on them. Absolutely, Ryan. My plan is to make like a lion with a full belly and to go and sleep away the rest of the afternoon. Once Manu and I have got everything unpacked and on charge, the mess can wait for tomorrow when we get back to camp. We're just going to go and crash and then head out again this afternoon and stay out tonight. 2-day adventure, well, it's off to a good start. It was an adventure. Manu and I were talking about it last night. We were saying we won't forget this moment. Not the first time I've been stuck at night, but it was probably the longest I've ever been stuck at night. And certainly it's been a long time since I've been stuck in the mud at night. Stanley, you're wondering what amarula is. Amarula is a sweet liqueur, essentially, based off marula fruits that are fermented and made into a creamy liqueur type substance. Goes exceptionally well with coffee, and of course it's not a potent drink at all unless you decide to consume it in large amounts, but a drop into a coffee just adds an extra dimension. Works in hot chocolate as well, by the way, and it's a very typical thing to have with your breakfast out here when you're on safari. Obviously we don't. That's not something that we typically do. Although, Manu, perhaps after the night last night, maybe we should start carrying one for emergencies. No, I am kidding. It was very kind of them to have offered us breakfast. We got fruit. We got spoiled completely. Although they did laugh at my outfit when I got out of the car, which is fair enough. I would have laughed as well. There, that's what I want to be doing, Manu. That the Tommies are doing. This is actually my favorite thing about our all-nighters, is the moment of the sunrise. First of all, when the sun rises, we're the only people here, which is, first of all, an enormous privilege, and secondly, it's just so wonderful to finally know exactly where you are. When the sun comes up and you can get your landmarks and your bearings. And then you get these amazing sunlit mornings, especially after the rain of yesterday. Everything's clean, clear. It's good to see wildebeest again because there aren't that many on the other side of the river. And last night I realized just how much I missed the serenade of canoeing wildebeest. all in all, we actually had fun. I think we had fun. I'm not sure if Manu agrees. The deathly silence tells me that perhaps he doesn't. No, I know Manu had fun because he said he had fun. We did have a blast. Right, let's go see if we can get lucky for the last few minutes of the safari. I'm quite saddened to hear that Armani's daughters are going wandering off into the conservancies. But that's okay, we're going to go down and find the Sala's Pride tonight. I think that's what I plan. The Sala's Pride, or the Pride of Lions, that I never really worked out exactly which lions they were, but I spent a considerable period of time with them, with the Notch boys as well. It's still hard to believe this is the same place. I haven't been around this area for the last 2 months, and the fact that the grass is gone is extraordinary. Oh, what a tricky question from Sir Jake. Sir Jake is wondering, if we could only view one animal for the rest of our lives, what would it be? Oh gosh, that's quite a sad thought. I'm assuming humans don't count. Not that that would be my choice, but I just assume they don't count. I'm going to go with elephants. And I'm going to go with elephants just because they are extraordinary to spend time with. They're an instant mood lifter. They impart an enormous sense of peace. They're always entertaining. They're always up to something. There's a tremendous sense of wisdom at the same time. So I think I'm going to go with elephants for my answer. What about you, Sir Jake? Which particular animal would you watch if you could? If you only had the choice of one for the rest of your life? It's a difficult one. There are lots of options. I can tell you I probably wouldn't watch a crocodile for the rest of my life. I can make a list of ones that I wouldn't watch. While I contemplate that particular choice, perhaps Tristan would like to share his answer.
Indeed, Jamie, that's a very easy question. So Jake, I would hands down spend every waking minute with a leopard if I could, no problem whatsoever. In fact, I do spend a lot of time with them anyway, but I would, if I was the only animal, it would be them, because, well, I would see many other animals in the process, because they seem to be so curious and get themselves into all kinds of other problems and find all kinds of other things, and so I would spend all my time with the leopard. I think that would be for me. It was a tough between leopard and elephants. I suppose wild dogs also creeped in there a little bit, but leopards, I suppose, always out and out is going to be my favorite, and would be the ones that I would want to spend pretty much all my drives with. Like I say, if you think about it, when we go out, we look for them pretty much every drive anyway, so if I could spend all my time with them, I would be quite a happy chap, that's for sure. Although I suppose the mix of all these animals is what makes it that much more interesting, is that we get to see so many different things, and you get to see hyenas and wild dogs and lions and leopards and birds and trees and all these kind of things. So I suppose if the whole mix of it is what makes it so magical. If you spent every single waking moment with the same animal, I think you'd eventually end up in a situation where you'd be quite tired of that and want to see something else. Now, there's some vervet monkeys that are sitting in a marula tree next to me. Well, actually, it's not a marula tree, it's a apple leaf. I lied to you. So there we go. There goes our vervet monkey. I'm sure it's come from the lodge. It knows that it's almost breakfast time, so everybody's going to be going back. It's time to get out of there. But they go in just as breakfast is being prepared, and they try and see if they can steal something. So they're very naughty, this particular troop of monkeys. They've been giving Megan and Amanda and Happiness a very hard time at our camp. They've been trying to get into the windows and pull open the doors to get in, them and the baboons. So they're not in the good books with our chefs at the moment, and rightly so. They've caused a bit of a mess. In fact, I think between them and the baboons, they ate 36 croissants the other day, which is a rather large number, and so we were left with very few in the camp. In fact, we were left with none, actually. They just ate them all. But he's going right up to the tops of the trees, and we're going to lose visual of him up there. It's
not easy with this light. It's very bright on that eastern side, and so it's just a silhouette of a monkey in amongst the leaves that we see there. Not a very good view, I don't think, but I suppose it's a good way to finish our morning, because this will probably be the last animal that we find, unless there's a steenbok or something on quarantine. Given that that monkey is so quiet, I doubt that there is any predators around here. They are very good at being able to spot predators, and from a height like that we would be able to see it. What's that, sorry, Senzo?
I was asking, it's the only one.
It's the only one, yes. So Senzo's asking me if it's the only monkey that I see. At this stage, yes. I don't know if there are more, which is quite strange, though. You wouldn't expect to just see one monkey, and I didn't really think about it until now, but I actually can't see another individual anywhere, which is very strange. I wonder why this one is on his own. Maybe the rest are still coming from the lodge side, and that's why I can only see him at this stage. The rest will kind of appear just now. But that's all from us here at Djuma. We will be out again this afternoon, and let's go back to Brent so he can finish up with the beautiful cheetah.
Hi guys, welcome back. Unfortunately, we lost our signal and internet at the moment that she started chasing. She was unsuccessful. She chased 2 different groups of impala unsuccessfully. Hopefully we'll be able to try show you what happened a bit later. But now she's heading through this thicket, and there is another male impala right here by himself. He doesn't have all the eyes of a whole herd with him. I'm just trying to get ourselves into a good spot here. I've lost sight of her in the croton thicket. Ferg's got her. She's going. Let's go to Facebook quickly. Chantal, please. Oh no, she's been spotted. And the impala is gone. Unlucky, girlie. You are not having a very lucky morning. There goes the impala. She was a little bit too eager there. But there are still quite a lot of impala and Thompson's gazelle, and even the odd Grant's gazelle in this area. Now we are coming towards the end of the morning safari, but I think Fergus and I are going to stay out with her, and who knows, maybe she will get lucky a little later. And Jake's question has been answered by everyone, and I think it's an impossible question to answer. If you could only choose one animal to view for the rest of time, what would it be? And see, mine would be wild dog, but you can't really watch wild dog without impala because they got nothing to chase. But I think, yeah, my favorite animal is wild dog, and I do have a particularly soft spot for cheetah as well. I've spent a lot of time with cheetah in the Lowveld, on the reserve where my parents live. I've actually habituated a pair of males that I can actually walk and get very close to them on foot and follow them hunting while they're on foot. But I'd say wild dog is probably mine. But see, you can't watch wild dog without something for the wild dog to chase. And I suppose the same goes for any of the predators. There wouldn't be any. There you go, she's heading into the longer grass now. Maybe she'll get a bit more luck in long grass. I'm hoping she does. And as I say, we're coming towards the end of the safari. So from all of us here at Safari Live, it's been great having you on board. It's been such a spectacular morning, and a big thank you to you for joining us. But for the last few seconds, let's look at the gorgeous girl as she disappears into the lovely long grass of the Masai Mara. But remember to keep an eye on those Facebook notifications. You never know when we're going to go live next.